Hi, I'm Brian, and in today's video we're going to be looking at a 94 Toyota 4Runner, and we're going to address an issue of it won't idle, it starts hard, and it just feels like it's running out of gas when you let off the gas pedal. If you feather the throttle, according to the owner, stoplight or whatever, it seems to run a lot better. So let's see if we can figure out what the problem is. It's a 94, so our hands are tied when it comes to OBD2 or using a scan tool to the computer to work anything very well. Check engine light is not on, so let's see if we can figure this out. I bet we can.
Brian's Mobile One.
So what's with this thing? What does it do? Let's show you. Doesn't want to idle. Now I'm going to push on the throttle just a little bit. Worse, it won't even run. So the fuel tank level is about half a tank. You know, it's hard to drive a vehicle that doesn't even run or start. So when you do get this started up and going, then you can drive it, but then it stalls at lights and it's kind of a pain. It's not getting fuel. The fuel tank shows half tank, fuel pump's coming on, but bottom line is it just doesn't have the right air fuel mixture. And it seems like it's lean. You can hear it kind of sputter like it's going to backfire or something. So why is it running so lean if everything's working? It's kind of a classic. It's an icon. It's got the V6. It's been well maintained. It's on its second owner. 94, you heard that right? So the timing set's been done. The head gaskets have been done. The fuel tank's been replaced. The fuel pump, like everything, sending unit, a bunch of other fuel components. With the head gaskets, like all the gaskets and seals going up have been done for the most part. I haven't done a lot of the hoses. So why do I tell you all this? It runs like crap, and it's a 94, so you don't have the OBD2 side to be able to do cool stuff with it. You've got your diagnostic plug, and then there's things that you can do from there to get some trouble codes. It's a manual transmission, so you can pop the clutch, and the owner's been doing that. But by and large, it's just been a pain in the butt. He says, hey, can you take a look at this thing? When I did the timing belt and the tune-up and everything, I noticed that there was a problem with the intake boot, and I recommended that the owner replace it, but it gets lost in the mix. When you look at it now, you can see that aside from being filthy, it's not connected at all. So if this isn't connected at all and it's broken all the way around, how is the air fuel mixture being determined? So because this is fuel injected, that's what EFI stands for, electronic fuel injection, you have to have the computer say how much fuel to put in. With a carburetor, it uses the Venturi principle. I've got a great video on that, and you can click on that here, that talks about how as the air goes by, it uses the Venturi principle to pull out and therefore crudely meter a certain amount of fuel going into the carburetor. On this vehicle, however, it uses what we call vane airflow sensor. You have a lot of vehicles that will have like a MAF or a mass airflow sensor. This is a vane airflow sensor, or a VAF. So there's a little door on here, and the more air that goes by it, it pushes on it and it reads what angle that door's at. So if you're wide open throttle, you know, the door will be this way because you got a lot of air coming through. So then this goes to the PCM, powertrain control module computer, the brain of the car, and tells the brain of the car, hey, open the fuel injectors this much. They call that pulse width, you know, that's the lingo or the terminology. So if you're getting a bunch of air going through here, then it's not opening the door. If it's not opening the door, then you're not getting the computer telling the fuel injectors to open more, and so it runs out of gas. If you don't have this plugged in or you have everything off, let's see what happens. It's kind of a moot point undoing that to take the boot off. This thing is hard as a rock. Please forgive the machine gun fire and the truck noise. Not sure if that's showing up on the track. Probably. So my favorite thing to do with stuff that won't come off, so just take some silicone, spray it up in there. Especially for going on, but coming off it couldn't hurt either. The more that you wiggle it, it works its way in. You can use WD-40, but WD-40, see how it creeped up in there? WD-40 tends to get all over where you don't want it and stay there. And then it attracts dirt and it winds up having this film of crap on it. Petroleum distillate kind of stuff, fish oil kind of stuff. Pull this off. Wow, look how dirty the throttle body is on this. Let me zoom in there so you can see it. So in addition to having the fuel not be metered, it's also incredibly dirty. Lots of dirt and unfiltered air getting in there. Alright, so let's unplug the mass airflow sensor and then see what happens as far as running goes. This one's a pain in the butt because there's kind of a wire on it. Some old school Bosch takeaway design. The original fuel injector clips and all that kind of stuff. They're always these wire types because nobody knew what they were doing, so they had paid Bosch to do it for them. And then Denso is a fast follower. It's like a guardian angel, like one of my guardian angels when I was younger, or even today. Okay, so this is unplugged. There's no hose on it. Let's see if this vehicle can run with no vane airflow sensor input. Now let's see if the check engine light comes on. On an OBD1 car, you pretty much have to have your component fall off in order for it to read that there's a problem. And have the light come on. Let's see what it does. So one of my favorites, or checking the check engine light standby, you turn the key on first so that it's in the on position, and then you can push the clutch cancel button. Vehicle starts, check engine light's on, and then it dies. So the reason why it starts now where it didn't before is it's in closed loop, no inputs, it's closed off to input. But anyway, it's got a pre-programmed thing of how the fuel injector should fire because it's obviously getting air, it's a matter of fuel getting to it. I love that because sometimes you want to use your foot for this pedal and the brake or something else in off-road, so the clutch cancel button, for them to even have that and trust the driver instead of like trying to take control away from them, I think that's pretty cool. That's a credit that this is a driver-oriented vehicle. Let's clean this throttle body out a little bit. So I really like the B12 Chem tool. This whole thing's a mess. This is the one time that I like fly-by-wire or an electronically controlled motorized throttle body over the throttle cable. Throttle cable's nice because it's like, bam, do what I tell you to do right now. On the other one, your car lasts longer because they take the control away from you and put it in control of like programming in the vehicle and autopilot basically. So that if you're romping on it and the engine's cold, it's like, no, you don't. I'm a cold engine. I don't want to romp on it. If it's life and death kind of stuff or emergency vehicle stuff, I would rather be able to romp on it and be like, well, actually, I don't care about the engine right now because there's a volcano. You know, like that, what's that show, Inferno or something? Or they've got the wildfire, volcano fire or something, trying to get away. Well, I was thinking of that kind of crap because that's where my brain goes to. Weird. All right, we're going to plug this back in. That's cleaned up a bit. Let's take a new boot, and I mean, this thing was so bad. You can only get so far with Permatex Right stuff. In this case, we got a year of running okay before the whole rest of it came undone too, but the Permatex Right stuff, actually, I can't even hardly get it off this clamp now, where the crack was. I clamped it on where the crack was, and it did awesome. So we've got silicone, and we're going to spray a little on the top and let it run down. Silicone's not sticky. So if you leave some on, it doesn't attract dirt the way some other products can. And we're going to put this on first. It slides right on beautifully. And then we're going to try to get this one going. It doesn't want to play nice. And I'm so glad I put some silicone on it. Boy, this new boot is awesome. It's got such good grip on everything. This thing's hard as a rock. I love having things be clean. That way when my arm's resting on it or something, I don't get my tan color. It's a dumb color jacket. I really like the color and I really like the jacket. Everything's back together. Okay, that's good. That's good. A lot happens when you're doing stuff, so double check it. I'm gonna clear the engine compartment because we're probably good. All right, everything's looking pretty good. What a difference that made. Isn't that amazing? It's like a whole new car. Just for that. The reason why is now it knows exactly how much fuel to squirt. Before, it was just getting a bunch of air and not enough gas. It was running out of gas. Awesome! So if this was bad, you'd get those same symptoms. Funny thing is when you revved it high enough air went by, it ran crappy, but it would at least run. So the check engine light that was on earlier, that's off. So we've got that going for us. I didn't even clear the codes. This is OBD1. I did a video on this recently. I'll leave a link or a card for that right here. But basically back in the day, they didn't store the information. There wasn't the feedback, and it just wasn't as good of a system in terms of diagnosing and having cars run clean. So as I rev it up, it's got that cleaner from cleaning the throttle body in it. We're gonna blow that through, but that's some pretty good throttle response for a 3-liter. There's a lot of different 3-liters out there. The Toyota 3-liter was a dog. It was not a great engine. The vehicle is awesome. 3-liter not so awesome. Anyway, I'm gonna get this thing out. This thing's like months expired. It's been sitting, so that sucks. I'd really like to take it out and drive it. But in the meantime, push the clutch in, no gas pedal. Check engine light works. Oh, it wants to. This thing needs to be driven. The gas in it's old, everything's been sitting. But we're good to go. That was the problem, just that boot. So this boot here, it's a 94, it's really old. You would expect that to be bad. This is from a Honda, and it's a Toyota. Toyotas last forever, right? This is from a Honda, and the Honda had the same thing happening, and I found it, glued it, because it was part of another job, and there's a budget and time constraints, everything. Oftentimes you have to order these things in. These are actually available in the aftermarket now, which makes it a lot nicer, so you can get a more, like this one's more tough, supple, holds its shape great. It's more like a silicone hose. It feels like, it's probably rubber, whatever, but anyway, this thing hard as a rock, makes it hard to change the air filter because these have to compress, right? But this one actually didn't run too bad. It's 2007 Honda Pilot that this came from. Interesting. The newer vehicles, the materials aren't as good for whatever reason. I was on a demolition job where I was pulling scrap or pulling crap, you know, things that are going to be thrown in the scrap pile. And there's all these nuts and bolts and fasteners and hoses and like all this stuff back when it was made really well. Dude, I was like a frickin' bandit raccoon grabbing all the stuff out of there. Man, the old stuff, don't make it like it used to, you know. Back then, you know, when the company's trying to build reputation, it's awesome, but once they have that reputation, what do they do with it? Do they cut corners? And, you know, it's like pedaling a bicycle and then taking your feet off the pedals and coasting. This stuff isn't as good as that stuff when it was new. On a side note, most things that fail on your car are rubber, whether it's wipers, this hose that we just did, or the seals. Usually if something fails, it's got either something to do with like your brake pads, it's a wear item, or like the brushes in your alternator or starter, or it's rubber. So there you go. Check your wipers, make sure to replace them. This one looks like it's due for a couple of them. So when do you replace your wipers is a little side thing. When they lay over sideways, you can see this one's laying over sideways. It's got a memory to it. Usually you have diminished function when that happens, but if it's coming off like this, it's bad. If you don't catch it then, and it gets down to this, it can scratch up and ruin your windshield. Let that be a lesson to you. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you hit subscribe and the bell, and then the notifications, and then the save, it'll show up in the far right hand corner where the little bell is.
Bonus footage at the end.